And as the music fades, we welcome you to this episode of season 4 of the Dr. Tech Show, where myself, Pauline Roche, and Sweyn Hunter, and sometimes guests, talk about digital topics, including the world of online communications and digital inclusion, in a show which was the brainchild of digital storyteller the late John Popham. Let's do a weather check. Sweyn, how has the weather been where you are?
Well, the weather is very cold but very bright. So it's just a bit. Yes, I'm no longer able to see out the window in my new location. Regular
Uh-huh.
viewers will realize I've moved around in the house here a wee bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I can remember that I'm going to have that it is bright sunshine and but also a kind of a big northerly component in the wind still. April's been terribly cold here. How about
Okay.
you?
Here in Birmingham, I also am in a different location. I'm cat sitting still this week, and
Oh, good.
but not too far from home, and it's been bright enough to go out, but not warm enough to go out in a t-shirt. So I've been
Yeah.
out with several layers on most of the time. But yeah, nice to get out and not been raining all of the time. It has rained considerably, which is good for the gardens, of course, and the gardeners and farmers and all the people who grow things. But not so great for people who just want a bit of sunshine. But yeah, we've managed to have a bit of enjoyment from all of it. So yeah, good. Okie doke, let's go into some dates. We have some kind of past dates and some upcoming events and stuff. So, Swain, do you want to lead off with the dates?
I can do. The first one we have is something called World International, sorry, no, World Immunization Week 2024. And that actually ran last week. It ended yesterday, but I think it's a good one to feature anyway. Um, so the headline is Humanly Possible, Saving Lives Through Immunization. I'm going to not try not to say that again. So the global vaccine drives, it says, of the second half of the 20th century are one of humanity's greatest achievements. Immunization campaigns have enabled us to eradicate smallpox, nearly defeat polio, and ensure more children survive and thrive than ever before. And this this year, the week will celebrate 50 years of the expanded program on immunization, recognizing our collective efforts to save and improve countless lives from preventable diseases, and calling on countries to ramp up investments in immunization programs to protect the next generations. In just 5 decades, we went from a world where the death of a child was something many parents feared to a world where every child, if vaccinated, has a chance to survive and thrive. At its inception in 1974, the program focused on protecting all children against 6 childhood diseases. But today, that number has grown to 13. And with 17 additional vaccines within context-dependent recommendations, depending on where you are or various other things. And so with the expansion of the vaccination program across the life course, we now call it the essential program on immunization. And in the last few years, particularly during the pandemic, unfortunately, progress in immunization has slipped. While more than 4 million more children were vaccinated globally in 2022 compared to 2021, there were still 20 million children who missed out on one or more of their vaccines. Growing conflicts, economic downturns, and a rise in vaccine hesitancy are some of the threats to efforts to reach these children. And as a result, the world is seeing sudden outbreaks of things like diphtheria and measles, diseases that until now we'd nearly vanquished. So while global vaccine coverage is good, with 4 out of 5 kids fully covered, there is more to do.
Mm.
So that's vaccine. I'm an unapologetic enthusiast for being vaccinated
Yeah.
in straightforward compliance with mainstream medical advice.
Me too. Yeah.
Um, I really have no time for people who raise spurious or however well-meaning, spurious or ill-evidenced um, objections to vaccines when
Yeah.
you consider all the good that they've done.
Yeah. The hesitancy has really, spread with the availability, I suppose, of social media and so on. People have been able to
Yeah,
spread misinformation and rumors to the detriment, I think, of a lot of people around the
Yeah.
world.
And that's, I mean, that's one of the reasons I picked this so-called date, as we call them, because there is this kind of digital component to that hesitancy.
Yeah.
And it's important that where we can, we try and squash it without
Yeah.
causing trouble and without pushing back in ways that make people even more resistant. But
It's about
anyway, yeah.
media literacy, which we want to encourage.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I never shared the screen for that, did I? Not once. Ha, ha, ha. Oh well, it was a lovely website. The link will be on the description of this page. The next date that I've picked is a bit of light relief, really, and I'd never heard of this before. It's called World. It's called Scream Day 2024, despite the fact it says 2021 on the screen. It was created, wait for this, to bring awareness to the benefits of screaming. Screaming on its own is proven to be very beneficial. You can scream in your pillow, in your car, or in your bathroom. To participate, find a place where you feel comfortable screaming, take a deep breath, and let out your best scream. So you're also encouraged to share the audio of you screaming, and some people have. For example, here's Dale. He's getting ready to scream, and here it comes. Or here's that's Lindsay. Oh, sorry, Emma in her car in 2021. I think it's a brilliant idea. I'm going to go around the scream. Unfortunately, it was April 26th, so that was sometime last week. So we've kind of missed the day, but I'm sure screaming is so beneficial. We can do it at any time, I'm sure. Anyway, moving on. The next one is Stop Food Waste Day 2024, which was on April the 26th. You can tell we didn't have a show last week. These are all last week dates. So this is very close to my heart. I volunteer at a local community fridge where we accept donations from supermarkets mainly, but also independent shops, and make it available free to anyone who wants it, on the basis that we want it to be used rather than wasted. So anyway, Stop Food Waste Day is the largest single day of action in the fight against global food waste. And it was it's 24th of April, this one it says. Well, it was last week anyway. It was started in 2017 by Compass Group USA and is now recognized globally in every corner of the world as people unite to educate, inspire, and ignite change. The mission is to ignite change, as I just said, regarding the global food waste problem, by drawing attention to the issues and at the same time educating through engaging with society at all levels and sharing practical, creative, and impactful ways we can all change our behavior to reduce waste. It's recognized that food waste is not only a moral issue, but a key contributor to climate change too. Wasting food is a waste of the energy to grow, harvest, process, and cook, and also to dispose of food waste. And if it's put into landfill, of course, it can cause methane emissions, which is a really bad greenhouse gas, far worse in the short term than CO2 is. So the scale of the problem is staggering, and some of these stats are on the screen. 33% of all food produced is wasted every year, which translates to $1.2 trillion worth of food annually. If food were a country, it would be the third largest food waste were a country, it would be the third largest greenhouse gas emission producing country in the world. So that's after only, I'm guessing, the US and China. Two more. If 25% of the food currently lost or wasted were saved, it would be enough to feed 870 million hungry people. That's only 100 million or so short of 1 billion people. And finally, 8% of all greenhouse gas emissions each year are due to food loss and waste. That's compared with 2%, for example, for global air travel. So it's a huge thing, food waste. And there's been lots of work being done on it over the last few years, a good few years now. But we still need to do a lot better at every level where food's produced, where it's distributed, where it's retailed, where it's bought and stored at home, where it's prepared. We just all need to have a bit more focus on how to avoid unnecessary waste. It's never going to be zero food waste. That's not how food works.
Yeah.
But 33, a whole third of all the food produced is wasted at the moment. Oh, dear me.
Including, it says, almost 50% of all fruits and vegetables produced. I mean, that's just, and
Yeah,
they're so expensive in a lot of places and so essential for life.
yeah,
It just seems unbelievable that that can be allowed to happen. Really, it's
yeah.
yeah. There's lots of great projects, to kind of
There are. There are.
address food waste, including all around Britain, and I think a lot of food, for people cooking meals for people to encourage people to
Hmm.
come together and eat and save
Yeah.
on food waste. And the more we can support that, the better. Yeah.
I would say that I think now most of the supermarkets try um, to donate food that
Mm.
reaches its best before or its used by date.
Yeah.
But I do think some of them could do a bit more in avoiding getting to that place in that position in the first place by just more intelligent ordering. I mean, I know it's not easy,
Mm.
and I'm as annoyed as everyone else if the thing I want in the supermarket isn't there because everybody's bought it and there's none left. So
Yeah.
inevitably, it's a thing. But again, on the digital side, we mustn't forget that that's why we're here. Uh, there's lots of apps and communities that have made some just incredible arrangements possible where supermarkets can advertise their waste food or food that's coming to its end of its date,
Yeah.
and either individuals or groups can then claim it, and there's all sorts of internet-based schemes for groups and individuals to claim the food that they can use.
Mm.
So I think this is an area where, unlike in vaccine hesitancy, where perhaps the digital revolution has kind of enabled a darker side of hesitancy and so on. In this case, it's definitely enabled much more flexible and capable projects to actually cover every supermarket branch.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say in the country, but I suppose in theory in the world.
Yeah, indeed. When I was, and I can testify that even when I was traveling in Sicily in the beginning of April, I was able to tell a few people about the Too Good to Go app, which does apply
Yes,
in other countries,
that's
and
a
I was
very good example.
able to benefit from it myself and help a few other people that were
Yeah,
traveling, staying in the same hostel I was staying in. So we can help each other a bit more. All to the good.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm.
Okay, so what have we got now? We have got, I think that's the end of the. Oh no! I'm wrong. One more date. It's a
Yeah.
global intergenerational week. I'm not getting any better at sharing the screen and talking at the same time. You notice that? And this is, I love this one. We've featured this before.
Mm.
It's we're actually in the second last day of it. It seems to run Tuesday to Tuesday. This event. I love this, and I'll just read it. Global Intergenerational Week is a campaign connecting everyone who is passionate about everything intergenerational. In its third year, the week looks to inspire individuals, groups, organizations, local and national government, and NGOs to fully embrace intergenerational practice, connecting people of all ages, especially the younger and the older generations. The campaign will celebrate good practice ideas, moments, and opportunities local to us where different age groups come together and intergenerational friendships can be formed. It provides an opportunity to plan for the future, developing new ways of connecting and being creative in how we use our spaces and places and the resources generations have to offer one another. As we emerge from the pandemic now more than ever, it's vital that we develop and celebrate relationships between generations to rebuild our communities, reduce isolation and loneliness, improve health and well-being, help young people to catch up with their learning, and to reduce ageism. So, if you are passionate about connecting generations, or have an inspiring intergenerational story or idea to share, or can facilitate or know of an amazing intergenerational project in your area, or if you have plans to build an intergenerational community, then please get in touch with the organizers. And again, it's one of these things that, yes, there's a week set aside for it, and there's a hashtag there, #GIW24. But really, this is the sort of thing that we need to do all the year round. And again, this is one of the things that John Popham, our much missed founder of the Dr. Tech Show, this is one of the things that he was very keen on. Either connecting people of different generations via technology, or using technology to make sessions and to have older people learning from younger people and younger people learning from older people. I think it's just a really good way of kind of just making society a better place, really. It just happens if you do intergenerational connections.
So presumably the website has links to where events are
It
happening and people can find out.
does. Again, this year we're kind of at the end of this week, although it is at least still on. There's various videos and uh, uh, details of things. It's it'll be, the link will be in the description, but it's generationsworkingtogether.org. So there we are.
Okie dokie.
Good.
So we will move on to events, and these are both happening in May. So we have some kind of forward planning for people to offer or offering. The first one is Scottish Learning Disability Week. That's from the 6th to the 10th of May, and the website offers lots of downloadable resources to help people take part in Scottish Learning Disability Week. And the theme this year is digital inclusion. So I thought that was really great to unite people with
Yeah. Are you still there, Pauline?
for Scottish Learning Disability Week 2024. I don't know if you can see.
I lost you there for
Pick
a few
out any of
seconds,
those.
Pauline. I don't know whether that
Oh,
was me or
okay.
you, but we'll
Okie
we'll
dokie.
we'll be able to tell when we watch the recording.
We will. So I was just saying that the theme for Scottish Learning Disability Week 2024 is digital inclusion, which
Yes.
was a nice way of linking people with a protected characteristic and digital inclusion. And I think maybe if you scroll down, there's a list of events for the week that you can. It says 15 online events. There's a pack about getting involved. Yeah,
Oh,
oh, there
lots
we
of
go.
stuff.
We've got into the calendars. Yep. So some very interesting looking stuff. You know, Monday, Our Right to Be Techie, Digital Connection, NHS 24 Digital Service, and NHS Lanarkshire Digital Safety Program. Tuesday, Avoiding Scams and Digital Front Door. Wednesday, Spotting Fake News, Technology Fair. Thursday, Avoiding Romance Scams, My Computer,
Oh,
My
wow.
Way. And Friday, Smart Devices, QR Codes, and Stay Up Late Workshop. So it sounds like there's something for everybody, whether you've got a learning disability or not.
Yes.
And we're all learning all the time. And I'm sure we could all benefit from dropping into some of those.
No,
Goes
that'd be
even more
great. Yeah.
detail. Yeah. Yeah.
Good
I think it's
stuff.
great to have low barriers to entry for events like
Hmm.
this, because we all need a bit of a hand sometimes in
Absolutely.
using technology. So
Oh,
we can all learn, keep learning. Okie dokie. And next one is a European Union wide
very good.
awareness raising campaign. And although the UK is no longer in the European Union, we do still cover stories on this show outside of our kind of local remit. So this is called All Digital Week, and it's one of the major pan-European awareness raising campaigns on digital skills for inclusion, empowerment, and employment, organised by All Digital Network, and it's been running since 2010. And since then, the campaign has helped almost 1.5 million people to get online for the first time or enhance their digital skills. And it's an awareness raising campaign run at digital competence centres, libraries, community centres, schools, and other venues across Europe, each year helping more than 50,000 Europeans from 20 plus European countries to learn and be inspired by what technology can do for them, focusing on the opportunities given by digital transformation and its effects. So it's running for 3 weeks from 13th of May to the 31st of May, supported by the European Commission, and will involve international and national partners and participating organisations in different European countries. The UK does have a member an organisation that's supporting, so that's the Good Things Foundation. The campaign will build on what was achieved in 2023 and its contribution to the success of the European Year of Skills, promoted by the European Commission. This year, on the occasion of the European elections in June, we'll put aspects of digital democracy, civic participation, and social responsibility into focus. Challenges arising from disinformation online and a lack of information literacy for a large portion of Europe's citizens are in the spotlight, as much as initiatives, solutions, and tools fostering participation, equity, and inclusion. Artificial intelligence technologies simultaneously promise and threaten to change the way we work, learn, create content, form decisions, and interact in digital environments. In 2024, the weeks will highlight how we can promote opportunities and limit risks generated by the emergence of AI. So the campaign actions have the motto: enhance your digital skills, a call to action for all European citizens and every individual living in Europe. So we're still in Europe, even though the UK isn't in the European Union. Um, so, it's calling us all to work together to face digital transformation with confidence. It'll also support the implementation of specific actions of the Digital Education Action Plan 2021-27 of the European Commission, with the main objective of enhancing digital skills and competences for digital transformation. So there'll be lots of presentations. I'm sure the website will have plenty of links for people to visit and see what's going on in other parts of of Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
Mm. Right.
Okay.
So we'll move on to the stories that we've been picking up over the last week or two while we've been doing other things. We are in touch with each other regularly, Sweyn and I, during the weeks when we're not presenting on a Monday, and we pick up great stories. So this is one you picked up, Sweyn, I think.
I think I did. It's from our friend Dan Slee, who
Mm.
of danslee.co.uk, who has a background in communications in the public sector and also supporting the public sector. And I noticed this one because I knew that this would be very annoying to some people who are fond of doing video in a more professional way. Uh, so it's called a rough guide to getting the most out of video on Facebook. Um, and it says in the early days of video training, I helped deliver that Dan helped to deliver. They'd have a clip that showed how landscape, that's that way, not portrait, which is that way. So you don't hold your phone up, you hold it sideways to take video. And he used to joke that people have eyes side by side. He used to joke, and not above each other. Also, how we laughed. And Dan says it's an example of how things change. That Facebook have announced plan to move all of their video to portrait mode, upright mode, including Reels, live video, and also what they describe as other long video. So it's just a key thing that if you're trying to keep up with these things, it's often things change in the online world and the social media world. You just have to keep up with that. And this was one of the things that Dan highlighted this week.
Mm. Right. Great. Well, that was it's very useful. I think it's saying that it's rolling out in the USA and Canada before it comes
That's
to the
right.
UK. Yeah. So we have a while to get used to it.
I've heard some skeptics say that sometimes Facebook make these big announcements, they try it, and then they just quietly drop it. So
Uh-huh.
we'll wait to see whether it hits us in the UK or or Ireland or elsewhere in Europe
Yeah.
as time goes by.
I think if Dan is highlighting it though, he's fairly sure that it's going to be coming
Yes,
our way
yes.
soon. So yeah, keep a lookout for that. Okie doke. Moving on to one of our favorite subjects on this show, libraries. And this is a story from via the Good Things Foundation. On the um website called Press Play. What libraries are telling us about digital inclusion, and this was a meetup about libraries and digital inclusion that happened recently, and um, the question that was posed to the people who at the meeting was, what digital support do people in your community need, and what do you or can you do about it? And not surprisingly, a lot of very basic things came up at this meeting. People still need support with basic digital skills. One attendee apparently said that things haven't changed since 2007, and technology is moving faster than ever, leaving more and more people behind. Because if you're not,
Hmm.
if you're not, it's not in your in your wheel, whatever they call it, house, then you might miss some things that are developing, because it's just not something that you do on a regular basis. Um, there's talk about urgent digital needs and troubleshooting, and people who come into libraries come in needing help with an urgent issue, like help with a
Hmm.
specific thing on their device, or increasingly help with filling in forms, housing, banking, DVLA, and doctors. And there's also apparently several mentions of navigating online travel platforms. Lots of travel services now are only available online for bookings, and for people get issued with tickets, and they have to have a device to be able to have their show their ticket. So that can cause some issues. I have been reading, Sweyn, on Facebook, of stories, because I'm still in this interrailing web support group, um of people finding that they run out of they can't connect to the Wi-Fi, so they can't show the guards their ticket on their device. So it is an ongoing issue, and one that we do constantly highlight on this program. Back to the story anyway. There more also mentions of young people and job readiness. Several people wanted to highlight the fact that we're seeing increasing numbers of young people who would never use a laptop or desktop before. They've got a phone, obviously, and they're using their phone, but they haven't used a device with a keyboard. So that's something to be aware
Interesting.
of. Mm. And so if they're
That's very
applying for
interesting.
jobs, whether we're asked to use a laptop or a desktop, you know, they might struggle with
Hmm.
that by the sound of things.
That's something we'd
Devices.
immediately think of, is it? I mean,
No, no.
um, we would assume that most young people would use laptops or similar at school, perhaps,
Mm,
but
mm,
there must be people falling between the gaps and people who just avoid it and somehow manage to cope. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, interesting.
And of course, there will have been the gap during COVID where some schools
Yes,
were able to give people
of
devices and
course.
some weren't. So
Yes,
yeah, there's
absolutely.
that divide. Devices. The group heard from libraries doing loan schemes and using hublets, I think small places to meet, to provide access to the internet at their branches. And some attendees said there were a growing number of people that come to use study zones in libraries with their own devices, making use of library Wi-Fi and quiet spaces. And I think that's a great use of resources that are available. So you have you bring your own device, but you can use the Wi-Fi that's available. Safe in the knowledge, I suppose, that it's going to be good quality and monitored. So
Yes, that
safety
was
is
a wonderful project. Libraries were very early in as a sector in the UK, providing high quality Wi-Fi or internet access and internet access. Way back in the 2000s, there was a huge push to connect up all the libraries in the UK under the banner of the People's Network, I think it was
That's
called.
right. That's right. Yes, I think that
And
was.
really, they have kept that up to date. There's been several generations of reinvestment in libraries, and that thing about having good quality Wi-Fi and the availability of a quiet space. I mean,
Mm,
most libraries don't insist you're quiet in every part of them anymore in these days, but there are always places, rooms, study areas, corridors. Even I think we had an editorial meeting with me in the corridor of the Orkney Library just a
yes,
couple
we
of
did.
weeks ago.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's really interesting, that
Hmm.
part of it. It's all very interesting,
Yeah,
but that part of it is particularly interesting. Sorry, I'll go back to the share.
that's fine. I think it's fine to go on. The meeting also pointed out that people are coping with a digital first policy, which we're very familiar with. And the blurb says council services are pushing people online, but there often isn't a strategy to support people who are digitally excluded. So you're being forced to
Mm,
apply for services or resources online,
mm.
but if people are excluded, how they being helped to access those resources?
Yeah,
The
I don't
next,
think I would. I don't think I would restrict that to councils. It's also
no,
the case for national services and
yes,
commercial services as well that we all rely on. And even if you're not forced to use online, it's very often the case that you get a better deal or a slightly
mm,
bigger discount or whatever when you're online. the most annoying digital first or digital only change that's coming up in Scotland soon is that Visit Scotland, the tourist organisation, are going to close all of their information centres.
Wow.
Now, that's not quite as drastic as it sounds because over the decades, they've closed lots, and some of them have been retained as volunteer run or whatever. So it's not that there's going to be nowhere in Scotland, but these main 26 centres are going to just close them and say, right, people want now their tourist information online, and you just think, really? Anyone who's spent half a day in a tourist information centre will quickly see that the people who are there are a mix between people whose phones have broken, whose uh, signal doesn't work because they're in a foreign country, who don't have a smartphone for one reason or another, or have a language problem or something. I think it's
Mm.
just utterly crazy. And I'm hoping that at least in Orkney and Shetland, where and the Western Isles as well, we'll find a way of keeping our tourist information centres open, even if Visit Scotland do finally totally retreat from face-to-face service. It's just I mustn't go on any longer about that one. What's next?
Yeah, unfortunately, I hope that doesn't spread to the rest of the UK and Ireland because it sounds like retrograde step, really. People still want to talk to people, no matter how many digital services you've got.
Especially when they're on holiday. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
insane.
yeah,
I shouldn't use that word in that context, but it's really annoying.
yeah. Moving on this story, the team came up with the awareness of benefits available. Um, a lack of understanding, which kind of reflects on the last discussion we've just had, a lack of understanding of what digital can do for them, to a need to raise awareness of digital support services available at libraries and other benefits beyond books. And this is something I've been talking about lots with my campaigning hat on recently.
This is not a
Mobile
new
data.
idea. It's
No,
not a new
that's
idea.
true. Yeah.
Libraries have been trying to point this out for at least 30 years,
Mm,
that there's
yeah.
more to libraries than books.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's the
Mhm.
staff. You need the staff.
Absolutely. Professionally trained staff. Can't beat them. Mobile data, a good proportion of attendees at this meeting were already delivering the National Data Bank and had seen the demand for data grow, surpassing expectations in some cases, which is great to hear that the data is getting out there. Um, AI and media and stroke digital literacy. Jamie Rowe from Hertfordshire Libraries raised the question of AI and how we can support people who may not be aware of how AI is used to generate content and how it might be used to spread misinformation or generate scams. But during the discussion and beyond, attendees championed libraries' role in helping people to navigate AI generated content, building on the public's perception of librarians as the
Mhm,
most trusted profession and source of
mhm.
reliable information. Well, that's music to my ears, obviously. So, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, let's hear it again for libraries and all the great things that they do, and long may they be continued.
Absolutely. No, that's a great story.
Mm.
Uh, yes.
Right. Moving on to another European Union story. This is the opening of the Eurocities Digital Forum, which was again a story from a couple of weeks ago. It was hosted in the Dutch city of Rotterdam on 16th and 19th of April 2024. And the story is called "We Need a Human-Centered Approach to Technology." And this was stated by the Vice Mayor of Rotterdam, Fauzia Akbar, to open the Eurocities Digital Forum. He said digital transformation is not a technical issue alone, but a social one. Um, Delphine Jamet, digital councillor in Bordeaux Metropole and vice chair of the forum, said inclusion cannot be forgotten when innovating. Innovation only brings progress if it includes everyone. So the question was, why does this matter? And it kind of went on to talk about statistics that they paint a sobering picture on the matter. Nowadays, one third of Europeans lack digital skills. Delphine said, could we tolerate a situation where 30% of Europeans struggle to turn on the lights at home? What would we think if within the European Union, 18% of inhabitants face difficulties withdrawing money from the bank? This is precisely what's happening in the digital world every day.
Wow.
Akbar acknowledged that the digital divide not only perpetuates inequality, but also hinders societal progress as a whole. He said, in our city, many people have issues with reading and writing, so of course they also struggle to find their way in the digital world. And I'm sure that's the same for
Mm,
countries around the rest of the
mm.
European Union and Europe generally as an area. Um, while it's clear um, that the substantial portion, the article goes on to say, while it's clear a substantial portion of the population finds themselves on the wrong side of the digital divide, the issue is much more complex than that, as it affects everyone to different extents. In Rotterdam, for example, around 220,000 people struggle with digital issues, and in Bordeaux, around 80% find themselves in complicated digital situations. The pandemic, the article says later on, served as a stark reminder of the importance of digital rights. The world went online overnight, and those without access to the internet were completely isolated. And this is a quote from Glasgow City Councillor Paul Leinster. Those who have not been able to join this transformation, they can't be left behind from the opportunities the digital world brings, but also to access their rights in today's digital society, such as accessing public services or making a doctor's appointment. So it goes on to talk a bit about Glasgow, and it says it's one of the many cities that focuses on empowering future generations through digital education. They have been distributing tablets to schools to promote digital literacy among young people. In addition to equipping students with essential skills, the city found a pleasant surprise. Students are learning skills at school, and then they take their tablet home so they can teach their parents and family members, said Paul Leinster. It's a cascade effect which we did not intend in the beginning, but we are seeing now. So that's great.
That's interesting. That's intergenerational stuff again, like
Yeah.
we were mentioning earlier. Um, I think it would be easy probably to misunderstand that effect. It's bound to be quite patchy. It would need a lot of support if it was going to be relied upon,
Mm,
but it's something to build on, perhaps. Certainly. Yeah, it's interesting.
yeah. I think you could see the same in gaming
Mm,
environments and stuff where, people use Wii's and stuff like that. I mean, I've never used them hugely, but I can see people using them and kind of families enjoying them very
yeah.
much. So yeah, that kind of being able to share the enjoyment of being
Mm.
online, um, sounds like something we definitely want to support. Okie doke. And moving to Manchester for our next story. This is about Get Online Greater Manchester, and it's I liked the website because it listed all the different parts of Greater Manchester, the different what do they call them, cities and metropolitan authorities. They're helping people to get online, and the website helps you to access local, regional, and national support to get online, bringing together the support available for residents to get online from across all of 10 to Greater Manchester local authority areas and across the UK.
10 local authority areas there are
Mm.
in Greater Manchester. I learn more about English geography every week here. It's great.
Yeah, so if you scroll down, Swain, you can see all the other opportunities and resources that are collected there to help people. And I think I might be referring West Midlands Combined Authority to this as an example of how to share
Hmm.
information well about what's going on.
Hmm. Oops.
Yeah,
Sorry. I clicked on something. There we are.
okay. And the next story is also about Greater Manchester and a little film about why digital inclusion matters. And this is a video to show the day-to-day challenges met by those without the basic digital skills, connectivity, or tools to get online, featuring Zach, Hadissa, and Vivian, three Greater Manchester residents who have faced negative impacts from not having access to the digital world, but they are not alone. Are you able to run that
I've
video?
lost that one. I can
Ah,
find it now, though. Just here we go. Just
okay.
stand by, as they say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, we'll put it onto the screen so that you can see it. And do you want to play this? Yes.
Yes, please. Yeah, it's really
Okay,
short.
here we go.
I get it at work. Oh, well, can you not have internet? You've got to have internet to be able to do a lot of things, and it's like we're not in that much to warrant having to afford it. You can't always afford it.
Some My name is Hadissa Hussein. I'm a student and I was born with facial deformity, which affected my eye. Only recently, I wanted to do like an online banking app, but when I trying to do the face recognition and it couldn't read my face, it made me very frustrated. Like for 3 hours, I was trying to do whatever and it couldn't pick up my face. It couldn't recognize my face.
My name's Zach Anderson.
And I'm his mum, Donna.
When COVID was here, it was very hard for me because we were staying home and there wasn't enough Wi-Fi at our house.
We don't have Wi-Fi, do we?
Yeah.
No internet. We only had mobile phone internet, that's all we've managed to have. It's not very good signal in our area anyway. He ended up having to come back into school anyway because he was struggling with the learning process at home and being at home. Parents' evenings and stuff like that, even that was all online, which on our first one, I think we missed half of the teachers because we didn't know how to do it.
When it was locked down and we didn't get to do that much, most of the time I didn't even get to spend time with my friends.
I'm Vivian Stebbing, I'm 76. I decided after I lost my husband, I'm going to make a resolution. I'm going to learn how to work the computer. It's just that everything was online and I felt that that was it, that I'd get left behind.
Everything was being really tough. We phoned school and school said that we could help you. So then they gave us the dongle. That really helped a lot. So then I could get all my work done.
They provided you with a laptop as well, haven't they?
Which is good.
Which helps him with his work.
From Henshaw, they helped me to set up my Mac. The other thing I use in daily basis is my phone, and I've been using Microsoft Soundscape, I think. So when I travel somewhere, I turn that on and it keeps talking to me about my surroundings and it tells me what is in my right, what is in my left, what is in front, what is in the back.
I used to go to the Lifestyle Centre in Woodhouse Park and they did IT there, so I joined. It has been such a help, and now I have a computer, laptop, iPad and an iPhone, and my 56-year-old daughter wants me to teach her.
We have to think about different people who has different difficulties. For example, someone who is completely blind. We need to work with other people or other communities to bring that change.
So I thought that was a useful little video to show things that people might not have thought of before, especially the facial recognition one. Someone who
Yes.
might have a less conventional face. Something I hadn't,
No,
kind
I've
of
never heard of that before.
missed me. Yeah, yeah.
That's yeah. Wow. I know that some people have trouble with some people who have injured hands have difficulty with fingerprints. I knew that, but it never occurred to me that a facial recognition system might not actually work. Ouch.
Mm, yeah.
Great case studies there. I loved
nice.
Donna and Zach. They're
Yes.
my favorite. That's the most heartwarming little story I've heard for a while now. I really enjoyed their story. I enjoyed all of them, but that was really Donna and Zach were my favorites.
Okay, well, I particularly enjoyed Vivian because, she's 76. She decided when her husband
Yes.
died, she was going to get on the computer.
Yes.
Good
Well,
for
they're all
her.
good. Yeah, yeah.
And now she's teaching her daughter, who's 56. I mean,
There we go.
That's lovely, lovely.
That's really good.
Well done, Greater Manchester. That's a really nice film.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okie doke. Moving on. Martha Lane Fox is a well-known standard bearer for digital in the country. Everybody probably knows her name by now. She's, I think she the founder of lastminute.com as well. But she's done great work with the government really for a digital economy. And this is a story from the Good Things Foundation about during the launch of Digital Futures for Good. Martha Lane Fox joined Good Things Foundation and digital inclusion experts Julie Hawker, chief executive of Cosmic, and Mohini Rao, responsible business lead at Accenture, to get their reaction to the interview with Martha. And Julie Hawker agreed with Martha that the digital inclusion agenda should sit with the Prime Minister. She said that for too long, the digital inclusion agenda has sat with others in government, and without the backing of the Prime Minister, we're in for another period of pushing from the grassroots centre rather from the centre. So, very, very pertinent point there. Julie continued claiming that digital inclusion needs more funding for digital skills and engagement in modern Britain. Leadership is vital, but we need the cash to back it up. Mohini Rao added the conversation around digital skills needs to take place in the context of generative AI and new advancements in quantum computing. And they said that businesses are faced with a real conundrum. How do they harness new technologies at pace while potentially reskilling entire workforce? Digital skills are going to shift. She added digital inclusion is not just good for business, but valuable for employees, the public, as well as the bottom line. Shared success, as Mo terms it, is essential for today's society, saying that everyone benefits from digital inclusion, not just shareholders, and businesses should be proud of that. So there is a video on this page as well, Sweyn, but I think it's too long probably to play. But we can put the link as usual in the YouTube on the YouTube page, and people can have a look at themselves. I think it's I always enjoy listening to Martha Lane Fox because she hasn't just sat on her laurels as a tech founder. You know, she has really tried to make a difference to people's lives, and it's good to hear her still leading. I think she's in the House of Lords now and
She
talking about
is.
digital
Yes, she's
inclusion.
been in House Lords for
Yeah,
a good few years
yeah.
now. And she did transition herself from, as you say, pure commercial stuff. I think even as early as the .com bubble of the early 2000s, it was around then that she started to think about the wider societal and accessibility type issues. And she's done a lot of, as you say, she's done a lot of good work since. Yeah.
A great model for all corporates, I would say.
Mhm.
Any corporates who want to have a role model, there's one to adopt. Okay, our next story is one about Tanzania and a story of how stakeholders are supporting women's digital inclusion in Tanzania. And I like this because it showed maps of stakeholders supporting women's digital inclusion in Tanzania. So I was going to see if you could, flick from different map to map. So I think there's quite a few there. So this is NGOs and organizations with digital inclusion initiatives in Tanzania. You can see in the north part of the country. And then if you go on to the next map, it shows organizations with accelerator programs, so far fewer those, but again, a list of some. And then we have, what's the next one? Stakeholders funding initiatives on digital inclusion. So a list of who they are. And
So the same thing.
That's the last one, is it? Yeah, that might be the last one. Okay, it's just handy. I love looking at maps of
Yes.
they convey information so well.
There's a lot of text on those slides as well, so it's worth
Yeah.
checking out to have a look. Yeah.
So
But
well
it
done.
seems only to be in a certain small number of areas of the country. There's a lot of Tanzania that's not covered by any of those, but I guess people are working on that too.
Yeah, I'm sure they are, and it's just good to see it mapped and kind of so people can monitor it and see how it progresses. Another next story is also about gender digital inclusion and talks about challenges and opportunities in achieving gender digital inclusion. And this is the Global Digital Inclusion Partnership, a coalition of public, private, and civil society organizations working to bring internet connectivity to the global majority and ensure everyone is meaningfully connected by 2030. So this is a new research report from the Global Digital Inclusion Partnership called Connected Resilience, Gendered Experiences of Meaningful Connectivity Through a Global Pandemic, and examines the challenges and opportunities in achieving gender digital inclusion, especially following the COVID-19 pandemic. It was supported by the Internet Society Foundation, drawing on women's experiences from 9 countries in the global south: India, Mozambique, Nigeria, Philippines, Bangladesh, Cambodia, Ghana, South Africa, and Uganda. And it highlighted that while internet access was essential during lockdowns, it was unavailable to everyone. The digital divide persists, the story says, leaving many women, impoverished people, and those in rural areas unconnected, with economic consequences, with GDP estimating that countries could lose over 500 billion in the next 5 years if this issue is not addressed with substantial policy interventions. The research also found significant disparities in internet access based on geography and education. Women with a college degree were nearly twice as likely to be meaningfully connected compared to those with less education. Similarly, women in urban areas were over 50% more likely to have meaningful connectivity than those in rural areas. And it goes on to talk about lockdowns exacerbating existing divides, lack of infrastructure, high cost of devices and data plans, dependence on men and families for device use, and limited time due to income generating activities and care work. So, not a great story, but again, one to be kind of followed up on.
Mm.
And good to see that people are aiming for a 2030 date to address the divide, which is
Yes, indeed.
very hopeful. The next story is about broadband, and the headline is Closing the Digital Possibilities Divide, a call for universal, meaningful, and affordable broadband. And the story from globalddigitalinclusion.org says that along with changes to the digital divide, we've witnessed how ICTs have transformed the way we work, learn and live over the past 2 decades. Contactless and digital forms of payment exploded during the pandemic and are expected to continue growing. 90% of countries implemented some kind of remote learning policy, and even before the pandemic, governments have been moving entire programs online, from Huduma centers in Kenya, Aadhaar in India, and Ingreso Solidario in Colombia. Social media has changed the way people connect with family and friends, and political participation throughout the globe. Someone's ability to use the internet regularly and affordably determined their resilience throughout the pandemic and influences the options available today. The story goes on, quite a long one. And the problem, they say, is what we call the digital possibilities divide. So someone without internet access or meaningful connectivity now lacks the same opportunities to learn, work, live, and connect that their peers with internet access have. So creating fundamental injustice in the world. And yeah, so there's quite a long story there, and we hope that people will have a look at it. And the bottom line is connectivity can be meaningful to people when provided, but it must be universally affordable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so good story there. Moving on, we came across a story about how to spot AI generated images. I think, was this one you saw on Facebook, Sweyn?
I think it was,
Possibly,
yes. It appealed to me. It's sort of cartoon based. There's a number of images, and there's the first one. It says AI faked images like this are flooding social media and going viral. Viral. It's increasingly important to be able to spot fake images and misinformation. So let's share some tips for spotting AI images. Next slide, as they might say. So they start with the easy stuff. Older AI models have trouble with counting, and they add extra fingers, hands, and legs. Look at those paws. Way too many toes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably 7 toes. Do animals like this have toes? I'm not sure. Anyway, yes, they do. And there's too many of them. So that's one dead giveaway. I think sometimes it doesn't even bother detailing individual toes on this paw. So there's a paw with no toes. And we've all seen this in pictures of human beings as well. It's kind of disturbing at times, depending on how bad the rendition is. I think that AI is getting better at counting fingers and toes. And it's interesting that this one is focusing on older AI programs. So there's that. So there's the next one. And here it forgot that whiskers should be visible in front of the muzzle. So sometimes things that should be in front of
Yeah.
other things end up behind them.
Mhm.
So there's that. This one, oh, I think I'm needing to see the top. Oh, yes, that's better. AI still often has trouble with eyes and faces, and it often messes up pupils and symmetry. And see how in this case the right pupil is oblong, and the left pupil is missing the white highlight we see on the right, despite being on the brighter side of the face. So, you know, I actually find it hard to see these things, I must admit, but they are there. And I think people with more visual acuity than I have will get on better. So as a result, facial expressions just appear a bit weird or off in some ways, and that's one of the reasons why. It's lack of symmetry and weird highlights from different light coming from different directions. So if you zoom in, you might find that eyes in this sort of picture have a kind of vacant or haunted look. How far can we get in? That's the limit.
Yeah.
And finally, I think it's finally anyway, AI tends to duplicate features like faces. And so uses the same face or features from the same face over and over again, right next to each other in the image. There was an image of women in the 60s wearing high boots and mini skirts and so on that was obviously AI, because it looked like a bunch of identical septuplets in the picture. You know, it was really obviously AI generated. So they do look unnaturally similar, those lions. And then sometimes AI forgets to maintain the consistent logic of a scene. So it's created footprints here for this lion and the one on the left-hand side, but it's forgotten to do footprints for the middle lion. So there's footprints here and no footprints here. So that's another. So it's AI is getting better at faking photos, and these tricks, they might not always be evident, but the most important skill is, and it's the same as everything else online, is thinking critically before you like or share. Check the page it comes from. Ask yourself if it looks credible, and do they credit a good one? Do they credit their photographer or source? Not always. People don't always do that for real photographs, but if there's no credited photographer, then that raises the likelihood that it's an AI image. And does the page share a lot of images that look improbable, uncanny, or very similar, like their versions of the same AI prompt? Because obviously AI works by you typing something in as a description of the scene that you want the AI to generate, and then it produces a picture. So if you put the same words into your prompts, you'll tend to get similar results. And then finally, if you're not sure, don't share it. Instead, find a different image that you do trust. And I think that is the end. Yes, that's the end of that one. So I find that quite useful. It's nice to. I'm very poor visually. I don't notice things. I accept what's in front of me. I'm not particularly discerning. I would be a terrible witness if I ever witnessed a crime. Oh, did he have hair? Do you want the color of the hair? Oh dear. So I find these little tutorials very useful when they're showing you what they mean.
I think I saw one this morning that was warning about getting kind of sucked in by the cute video, the cute AI ones, because if we get used to sharing the cute ones, then they will gradually progress into the kind of the political opinion ones that we might just share ad hoc as well. And we need to be we do need to be mindful of whatever we share.
That's it. This doesn't just apply to possible AI images. I mean, everything that we share, we should be able to know or have at least assessed what we think the reliability of the content is.
Absolutely. So I think we've come to the end of the show.
I think we have, yes.
Actually, good place to stop there. So we will probably have more AI stories next week, and more about libraries as well. Our favorite topics.
I'm sure we will.
Now
we can't go a week without libraries.
Absolutely. So thanks very much for joining us, and have a great week. Thank you very much.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.